worry about that. It means if you do practice that those questions also, you will able to solve. It's not like that much problematic, like it's not that difficult. Okay, little trick are there, but if you keep on solving some more problems, if you solve like from pknag or some other unsolved numerical, if you solve, then you will able to solve those types of question also. But I think means what we have seen in class also, at least 80-85% questions you are able to solve, I think. Okay, now let's now also I have back pain. Still I have that back pain. So, but I wanted to complete this one. Okay, so let's start the class. It's already 9:25. I wanted to start at 9 so that we can uh, end the class quickly. Okay, so let's start there. This now this is refrigeration cycles. Now this is similar to the two things you should remember for this particular topic. You should remember two topics. One is your second law. In second law, we have studied about refrigeration cycle, like refrigerator and heat pump. Okay, refrigerator and heat pump. That topic, and vapor power cycle. Okay, vapor power cycle, or the this one, this properties of pure substance. Vapor power cycle is more close. Okay, so if you are able to solve numerical of vapor power cycle and this one, your refrigeration cycle, this second law, refrigerator and heat pump, then this topic is also easy for you. Okay, somewhat little bit advanced. Okay, not much difficulty will be there. So let's see. In first we'll see what is refrigeration. So there is two things. One is refrigeration, one is refrigeration, and other is cooling. Is there any difference between refrigeration and cooling? Is there any difference between refrigeration and cooling? No, both are not same. See, cooling means, even let's say you have placed, this is your surrounding temperature is 30 degrees centigrade. Okay, and you have placed one block, and block temperature is 70 degrees centigrade, let's say. Okay, 70 degrees centigrade. Now if this block, if this block rejects heat to the surrounding, and such that after some time its temperature is 60 degrees centigrade. Okay, then can I say it has refrigerated? Refrigeration has happened, can I say? So here this is cooling. Okay, you are cooling this one. Okay, you are cooling this one. But when can I say it is refrigerated? When you are cooling a body lower than the temperature of surrounding. When you are cooling a body, when this temperature goes below 30 degree, let's say 25. Okay, then you will call this thing as refrigeration. So what we have in our house, like refrigerator, what it does, it cools the it cools down, or it extract heat from the vegetables or means substance inside your refrigerator. It extracts heat such that its temperature will go below the temperature of surrounding. Okay, that's what we call refrigeration. Okay, so refrigeration is cooling of a system below the temperature of its surrounding. Okay, this is first thing. Now if you remember your second law chapter, there we have heat pump. There we had this heat pump. Okay, heat pump and refrigerator. Now what heat pump and refrigerator does? What refrigerator does? It extracts heat from some body and it will reject it to surrounding. It will reject it to surrounding, and for that it needs some work input. Okay, now refrigerator, what it will do, its main or sole purpose is to extract heat from this body so that you can cool this body. Okay, and for heat pump, it was the cycle was same, only difference was that it extracts heat from lower body and it will supply heat to higher body, and this was our desire. Okay, this was our desire. Same cycle, same process was happening there also, but the only difference is this was our desire in case of heat pump and this was our desire in case of our refrigerator. So the COP of heat pump was Q1 divided by work input, and COP of refrigerator is Q2 because desired is this thing, so Q2 divided by work. Okay, now this is the basic thing what we have studied in our second law chapter. Okay, now uh, we'll go little bit deeper. Okay, now we'll see the components in this refrigeration cycle. Okay, we'll deal with the components of refrigeration cycle. So first we'll see the working fluid in a refrigeration cycle is called a refrigerant. Okay, that we know. And in reverse Carnot cycle, this is a reverse Carnot cycle only, the refrigerant is first compressed reversibly and adiabatically, process 1 to 2. This I will just explain in next slide. See, in this case, first your refrigerator, in refrigerator, what happens is, let's say this is your space where you have kept your vegetables or any substance which you want to cool below your surrounding, which you want to refrigerate. So what you will have to do, you will have to extract heat from it. Okay, so you have some substance, you have some substance or vegetable here. Okay, and you are extracting some Q2 amount of heat from it. So what device we use here? We use evaporator. You call this thing as evaporator. So in evaporator, what happens is the fluid, the refrigerant will flow here and it will take some heat from this one. Now for this, obviously the temperature of this refrigerant should be lower than the temperature of this vegetable. Okay, so that it can extract heat. So for that, what we do, we'll see in 3 to 4 process what we do, but let's start from here itself. So we are extracting some heat, Q2 from the vegetable or substance kept inside your refrigerator. So this, we call it evaporator because it starts from somewhere here and ends somewhere here. So what it is doing is that the evaporation is happening, the phase change is happening, phase change of refrigerant is happening here, phase refrigerant from 4 to 1. Okay, after that, when it reaches 8.1, here we compress. Okay, here we compress from state point 1 to state point 2. Okay, so we have compressor here. Okay, we compress it so that, why this thing required, we compress this thing so that its temperature will become more than the surrounding temperature. Let's say we have a surrounding temperature as, okay, surrounding temperature as this one. It should be more than the surrounding temperature so that it can reject heat to the surrounding. Okay, so for that, what we do, we compress this refrigerant, we compress refrigerant and increase its pressure, because why we increase the pressure, that will come next part, but we are increasing the temperature because if we increase the temperature above the surrounding temperature, then only it can reject heat, to the surrounding. So we compress this one till here, and then rejects heat at constant pressure. If you see, this is constant pressure, constant only. in TS plot. This is TS plot, and this is your constant pressure line. Like so, this is your constant pressure line. Phase change is happening. This is also your constant pressure line only. Okay. So here from one in evaporator, phase change was happening. Liquid was vapor, and in condenser, the fluid is condensing back to liquid. So it is at state point is saturated vapor, and it is rejecting heat to the surrounding, coming back to state point 3. Okay, and it is becoming liquid. Now after that we can use expansion engine. Okay. Audio problem is there? Okay. Is it okay now? Okay. So here, if you see, we can use after state point 3, we can use expansion engine, which will give you some work output. Okay, here we are giving some work input. It is a reverse Carnot cycle. No, in Carnot cycle, we in one here we used to input work, and here we used to get work. Okay, we usually get work output, but in this one it is reverse Carnot cycle. No, so here we give some work input in compressor, and in expansion engine we get some work output. Okay, but in actual refrigerator this is not the case. So in expansion engine, when we get some work output, its pressure will reduce. Okay, its pressure will reduce and reduce to state point 4, and it will again enter to evaporator, where it will again take heat and the cycle will continue. So in this case, what we can see is that if you want to calculate this part, the heat part, this part, so what you need, this temperature, T2 temperature, and entropy at state point 1 and entropy at state point 4. If you know entropy at state point 1 and state point 4, then multiplied by T2, you will get Q2, the amount of heat required for evaporation. Then similarly you can calculate the Q1 part, which is T1 multiplied by S2 minus S3. Okay, and with this you can calculate the amount of heat rejected in condenser. So if you know Q1, if you know Q2, okay, then you can put it here. And for reversible, obviously it is reverse Carnot engine. So reverse Carnot cycle, so obviously the cycle is reversible only. So for that we can derive the COP value for refrigerator as T2 divided by T1 minus T2, and COP of heat pump as T1 divided by T1 minus T2. So this formula we have already studied in our, we have already studied this part in second law chapter. Okay, now up to here it is same, but now we'll see different points. Okay, now we'll relate that vapor power cycle we have studied, no, vapor power cycle, like that we'll study here also. We can calculate the COP and heat extracted and other things with the help of enthalpy value also. Okay, so we'll see how we can do that one. Okay, so let's say we have vapor compression refrigeration cycle, and this is the one which is in your syllabus. So vapor compression refrigeration cycle. So in this particular case, what happens, this is your evaporator. Okay, this is your evaporator. So in refrigerator, if you see, you have coil inside. If you see, you have coil. Okay, like in your freezer also, if you see, you will have a coil like this. okay, where this refrigerant will flow, and temperature will below well below the temperature of surrounding, and it can take heat from the vegetables. Let's say this you have vegetables, it can take heat from the vegetable, so that the fluid in the refrigerant in this tube will evaporate, and it will go to your compressor. Here we use the reciprocating compressor. We can use a reciprocating compressor. We can use this rotary compressor also. There is 2 3 different types of compressor for different compressors have different values or different usage. So accordingly we use. So I will tell you when to use which one. Just wait. So in compressor, let's say this is here our this reciprocating compressor. Here the refrigerant will enter, and after compressing it will leave from here, and it will again go to condenser, where you can see this one, this condenser, so this compressor, you can see a small box at the bottom of a refrigerator somewhere, means a small box kind of thing, or circular this thing. There you can see the compressor, spherical, not circular, spherical, or box kind of thing. You can see there you will have this compressor, or then after that the fluid will go to condenser. There also you can see this coil. Now after that you can see the pipes, okay, very thin pipes at the back of the refrigerator. There it expands, and when it expand, it is what it is actually a capillary tube, or that is actually a throttling valve. In reverse Carnot cycle, if you remember in last slide, we actually get some work output from here. That was engine, okay, expansion engine, where we can get some work output. But in actual vapor compression refrigeration cycle, if you see, the work output is very less, and the cost for that engine will be high. So you will not get much work output from there. So instead of that, what you can do is use capillary tube or throttling wall or capillary tube. What we have studied in flow process of open system of first law. There we have studied this throttling valve. So what throttling valve does is it reduces the pressure. It reduces the pressure, okay, and reduces the temperature also, keeping enthalpy constant. If you remember, the throttling valve or the isenthalpic device or capillary tube, what it does, it reduces the pressure and temperature, keeping enthalpy constant. Okay, that is isenthalpic device. So instead of that this uh, engine, we use throttling valve or capillary tube for reducing the temperature, reducing the pressure, okay, and in this way it completes the cycle. Now that same thing we can show in TS, HS and PV plot. So let's start with the TS plot. So this is our evaporator, okay. This our at state point 4 the evaporator starts, okay, and it will reach, you can end somewhere here also, one dash also, and one also, okay. Now if you are ending at one, it is saturated vapor, or you can, what you can do is you can have some superheat also. Why we should do that, I will tell you after some time. But you can end this evaporator at state point 1 dash also, at 1 also, or you can have some superheat also, okay. It depends on requirement. Now let's say we are ending here as saturated vapor. After that, 1 to 2 is your compressor. Now from 2 to 2 dash and 2 dash to 3, right from 2 to 3, here it is condenser, we are rejecting heat to the surrounding. And now the change comes from the Carnot. If you compare from your Carnot reverse Carnot cycle and this one, the reverse Carnot cycle was going like this. The graph was going like this vertical line. Okay, because that was isentropic expansion. But in this case, if you see, the graph is going like this dash line, that too it is dash line. So we are not actually, we cannot show this one because it is highly irreversible process. Okay, in throttling or capillary tube, it is highly irreversible process. So we cannot show with solid line, but we can show with dash line, dash line. And what it represents, it represents that enthalpy of 3 and enthalpy of 4 is same because it is a isenthalpic device. Okay, now sorry. So from 4 to 1, if you see, 4 to 1 is your evaporator. So to calculate this Q2, what you can do is you simply if you know the enthalpy value, enthalpy value is at 1 and 4, you can calculate the heat extracted in evaporator. So H1 minus H4 will give you the heat extracted. Similarly, in compressor, H2 minus H1, will give you the work input in compressor. Now here H2 minus H3 will give you the heat rejected in your condenser. Okay, and then 3 to 4, as the enthalpy is same, there is no work output. And this point actually, in while solving numerical, this point is very helpful because this fourth point, the values for fourth point or data regarding fourth point will not be given. Generally it won't be given. What they will do is they will give the value of this state point 3, and you should know that as this is isenthalpic device, so enthalpy at 4 and enthalpy at 3 is same. So enthalpy of 4 will be equals to enthalpy of 3, and you can use enthalpy of 3 for solving numerical or for calculating the heat input here, or heat extracted in evaporator. So heat extracted in evaporator Q2 is Q1 sorry H1 minus H4, and as H4 is equals to H3, what you can do is H1 minus H3 you can write for calculating Q2. Now the same thing you can draw in PV plot and in HS plot also. Okay, so anyone is having any doubt? Because it is highly irreversible process, no, it is irreversible process, so you cannot uh, show in your this vapor dome or in plot. Irreversible process generally we do not show in plot, na. Now here all different processes I have already explained. Now here 1 to 2 is what? Compression. Okay, we have compressor. Now you can end at 1 dash also, and we can end at 1 also. Okay, but 1 to 2 is preferred. This one is preferred. The reason is, if you end somewhere here, this is wet region, so some refrigerant will be in a form of liquid, and if liquid enters the compressor, it can damage, it is danger for your compressor. Okay, because that liquid can be trapped somewhere inside. Okay, and it can, like, it will be a danger for you because it can damage your valves, okay, or the head of the cylinder. So those droplets are danger for this uh, com this compressor. Okay, so that's why we prefer this state. Okay, so that it becomes dry saturated. Water vapor, refrigerant, not water vapor, we are not using water vapor here. Sorry. So we actually, okay, you can ask later. So here what we understand is that we'll prefer this one. In fact, we do some superheat also. So I will tell in later slides. We do some superheat. So at least this point is clear that we do not prefer wet one. Instead of that, we prefer the dry one. Okay, dry saturated vapor. Okay, now second is, from here to here it is condenser, cooling and condensing. Okay, and this is at constant pressure process. Okay, and then third one, 3 to 4 is expansion valve. 3 to 4 is expansion valve, and this you can calculate as this. And if you want to calculate the entropy, like it may require that you if you want to calculate the this one entropy change from here to here, it may require. So what you can do is, you have this formula now, TdS equals to dH minus VdP. Now why we are using this one? Because we know enthalpy at 3 and enthalpy at 4 is same. So dH will become 0. Now if dH will become 0, then the ds will become minus VdP. So with this rearrangement, you can calculate the entropy change in this highly irreversible process or in expansion process. Okay. Clear na? Up to here, clear na? And the last one was evaporator. Okay, or the evaporation. In this particular thing, heat flows by, see, after the refrigerant is throttled by the expansion valve to pressure the saturation temperature, at which pressure being below the temperature of surrounding. If the temperature is below the temperature of surrounding means what? One thing is surrounding, but the second surrounding means, like inside the refrigerator. Inside the refrigerator, that is the surrounding for inside coils. Inside coils. Okay, so this refrigerant temperature should be below the temperature inside this refrigerator also. So this is the surrounding for this one, and outside surrounding is surrounding for your that coil. Okay, the condenser coil. Okay, so the temperature should be below the temperature of the surrounding, the coil, the refrigerant temperature. Then only by virtue of temperature difference from the surrounding, which gets cooled or refrigerated to the refrigerant, which then evaporates, absorbs the latent heat of evaporation. And in this one, it absorbs the latent heat of evaporation, and this is what we call as refrigeration effect. Okay, now this will see this. I will just quickly tell you the formula. This I have already explained, that in compressor, as this is a flow process is going on, so we can use steady flow energy equation, and we can neglect the change in kinetic and potential energy. And with that, what we will get, like in compressor 1 to 2, if you directly calculate the change in enthalpy, you can calculate the compressor uh, work input. Now in condenser, what is the heat rejected? Simply H2 minus H3 you will get. Then next is expansion valve. Enthalpy here and here is same. Okay, now this, sometimes they ask what is the condition here, that also they ask. Okay, what is the condition, or what is the quality of refrigerant at inlet of the evaporator? See, this is evaporator, this is evaporator. So what is the condition? Condition means what? The quality of refrigerant, the quality X value, if you remember in vapor power cycle. So the X value at this point, because this is your saturated liquid, this is your saturated vapor, this is superheat, this is saturated vapor. Here only you will have that this one this wet state. Or for wet state, you should have that x value. So how to calculate that x value? Use the value of this enthalpy. Enthalpy here and enthalpy at this state should be same. Now this enthalpy you can calculate from the table, from the refrigerant table, which is same as your steam table. It will contain that SF, SG, HF, HG, VF, VG, like that all values will be given, and HFG, SFG, HFG, all values will be given same as your steam table. Some pressure value corresponding to that, some temperature value will be there corresponding to that. You can calculate those values. So all those things are uh, means similar only, because here also phase change is occurring, no, like your water phase change in steam power plant. So same thing. So you can calculate this enthalpy. And if you know and how to, so how to calculate enthalpy at this state point? Enthalpy at this state point you can calculate as HF plus means this one enthalpy at state point, or here it is H enthalpy at that state point is HF plus X times HFG. Okay, so that you can calculate. Okay, now this enthalpy value is same as enthalpy at 3. So this you can write as H3 equals to HF plus X times HFG. Okay, now it is written P1, P2, P2. Why it is written like this? Now this 3 is corresponding to pressure 1. Okay, so corresponding to pressure 1, this is corresponding to pressure 1. This is corresponding to pressure 2. This is also corresponding to pressure 2. But don't get confused with this one, P1 and P2. You already know how to solve problem for vapor power cycle. So you know how to calculate enthalpy at this state point. So enthalpy at state point 4 is nothing but and HF. HF means this value. Okay, HF plus X times HFG. X times HFG. So you can calculate enthalpy here. All this HF and HFG value you will have to see corresponding to this one, this pressure and this temperature. This okay, and you know that H3 is equals to H4. Now H3 you know how to calculate. You know this pressure P1 and you know this temperature. Okay, so this pressure and corresponding temperature is this one. So HF value you can use, that HF you put it here, okay, in place of this one. So that you can put here and you can calculate the X value. Clear now up to here? So now if you see this, you can calculate that heat in evaporator, the heat extracted part. That also, if I go previous slide, then what you want to see, what you want actually? Graph I will show again. Just wait. It will come again. Now the evaporator, this is this one, but they will ask you in other word also, like refrigerating effect. What is the refrigerating effect? They won't ask what is Q2. They will ask you what is the refrigerant effect. So refrigerant effect means they are asking this Q2 only. Okay, it is the amount of heat removed from the surrounding per unit mass flow of refrigerant. Okay, surrounding means what? Whatever is kept inside your refrigerant. Okay, that is surrounding. So from those things, the amount of heat extracted, okay, per unit mass flow of refrigerant, okay, removed from surrounding per unit mass of refrigerant, this is refrigerating effect. Okay, now again the COP. The COP, what you know is Q2 by WC. So till now you know the COP formula as Q2 divided by work input. Okay, and this Q2 you are knowing Q2 by Q1 minus Q2 in your second chapter. This Q1 Q2 values were given. Okay, directly given, and you use those values to calculate the COP. Now you can calculate this Q2 or Q1 or work input in terms of enthalpy. So simple, you replace Q2 with H1 minus H4 and WC with H2 minus H1. You replace it and you will get the COP of the cycle. Okay, now they can ask you the capacity of refrigerating plant in terms of tons. They can ask in terms of tons also. So you should know what is 1 ton of refrigeration, or they may give you like they can give you the data 1 ton, like 3 ton refrigeration is required. 3 ton refrigeration is required. They can give you. Okay, so for that what we have to do, see, this is the refrigeration. This is the refrigeration effect. H1 minus H4. H1 minus H4 kilojoule per kg is the refrigeration effect. Now, what is the heat removal rate? For heat removal rate, you will have to multiply with the mass. Okay. So, heat removal rate is W multiplied by refrigerating effect. Now, they can see here the refrigerating effect is per rate, but in numerical if they are asking what is the refrigeration effect in terms of kilowatt only you tell. Okay, kilowatt only you tell, then you should use mass multiplied by H1 minus H4, mass flow rate of this refrigerant multiplied by H1 minus H4. So you should understand that part. Okay, you should go with the, you should understand that the units also what they are asking, so that you should understand. Now if only refrigerating effect they are asking, so that means kilojoule per kg. But if they are asking heat removal rate, or that too in terms of kilowatt, so that you can calculate by W multiplied by H1 minus H4. Okay, W multiplied by H1 minus H4. Now now H1 minus H4. Now this same thing, the unit for this one is kilojoule per second. Kilojoule per second means kilowatt. But if they ask you what is it, what is the value in kilojoule per hour? So in kilojoule per hour, you should multiply by 3600. This is the thing you should do. Now next is, what is 1 ton of refrigeration? So 1 ton of refrigeration is defined as the rate of heat removal from the surrounding, rate of heat removal from the surrounding equivalent to the heat required for melting 1 ton of ice in 1 day. Okay, you have 1 ton of ice. 1 ton of ice means what? 1 ton of ice means what? 1000 kg ice. Okay, so you have 1000 kg ice. So how much heat you should extract from this 1 ton of ice in 24 hours? Okay, 1 day means 24 hours. So how much heat you can extract from this 1 ton ice in 24 hours to melt it, to convert its phase? Okay, because it is 1 ton ice. Now you want to convert it into liquid, so you will have to extract which heat? The latent heat. So the latent heat of fusion of ice, if latent heat of fusion of ice is 336 kilojoule per kg, then the 1 ton is equivalent to heat removal of 1000 kg of ice. So 336, see, 336 is the amount of heat to be extracted from 1 kg of ice, from 1 kg of ice. So but here it is 1 ton. So 1 ton refrigeration means from 1 ton of ice means 1000 kg of ice. Okay, that too in, so now this thing you are extracting, this thing you are extracting in what, in means this thing you are extracting for 1000 of ice, 1000 of this thing, uh, 1000 kg of ice. Now in 24 hours, there is one more thing in the definition, there is one more thing, in one day how much heat you want to extract, like you can extract this much amount of heat in 1 hour also, but definition says that in one day how much heat you should extract to convert this one, so divide by 24. Okay, so this value is equivalent to 14,000 kilojoule per hour. Okay, 14,000 kilojoule per hour. This will give you the definition of this one ton of refrigeration. Now this is what kilojoule per hour. Now quickly please divide 14,000 with 3600. Just divide and tell me the answer. 14,000 with 3600. So what you are getting, what just now I did is this 14,000 kilojoule per hour. Okay, so 1 ton of refrigeration is 14,000 kilojoule per hour, means this much 14,000 kilojoule heat you will have to extract per hour. Okay, per hour you will have to extract. Now uh, now next thing is that if you want to convert it into, now if you want to convert it into kilowatt, now if you see this is kilojoule per hour, now if you want to convert into kilowatt, so what is kilowatt? Kilowatt is kilojoule per second. So for second what you should do, you should convert this hour in terms of second, so you should write it as 14,000 kilojoule, then r you can write as 3600 seconds. Okay, now this will become your kilowatt, and this 14,000 divided by 3600 will become 3.8. So that factor you can remember, approximately you can remember as 3.5. Okay, so 3.5 kilowatt. So 1 ton of refrigeration is equals to approximately 3.5 kilowatt, or 3 point, exactly it is 3.89 kilowatt. Okay, or you can remember this value, exact value is 14,000 kilojoule per hour, but this value we get by using the value as 336 kilojoule per kg. If in question they have given some other value, then you should use the other latent heat to get the different value. Is it clear, this part? This equation are you asking? This is evaporator. In evaporator, you are extracting that heat. No, I have explained already. This is your evaporator. Then your compressor, in compressor work. Then the condenser Q1. So in evaporator, this was state point 4 and this was state point 1. So 4 to 1. So what is the amount of heat extracted in evaporator? It is H1 minus H4. Yes, heat removal from the surrounding. Surrounding means from where the heat is being extracted by the refrigerant. Okay, this H4 plus Q2 it should be. There is a mistake, silly mistake. Small mistake is there. Why surrounding? From surrounding only you are extracting heat, na? Surrounding means surrounding here is like inside your refrigerator, whatever thing is there. From there you have to extract heat. So who will extract? The coil which is going inside your this refrigerator, that will take this heat, and that coil will go outside, and then it will go to compressor and become and reach at higher temperature, and then it will reject heat to the surrounding. So for condenser, the surrounding is your actual surrounding. For this one, from where you are extracting the heat. In other way, one more thing means one more thing I can explain here itself. In some numerical, what they will say is that some heat is being continuously leaked from the surrounding. They can give like this. Let's say 10 kilowatt of heat is continuously leaking inside the refrigerator. Okay, continuously leaking from the surrounding to the refrigerator. Okay, now what is this value is given? Can anyone tell? It is Q2 only. Now if, see, you have something here, you have something here, some object is placed inside this one, and you want to maintain the temperature of this one, let's say at minus 10 degrees centigrade. Now if some heat, let's say 10 kilowatt of heat is continuously going inside this refrigerator, then the coils will have to take this same heat to maintain this at minus 10 degrees centigrade. No, so this coil will have to take the same heat, and then it will have to reject it to the surrounding. Okay, so that's why this one this 10 kilowatt what is given, which is leaking to the refrigerator, it is nothing but this Q2 only. So they can give you this Q2 in terms of this also. So they can give you in terms of refrigeration, in terms of refrigerating effect, in terms of tons of refrigeration also, like this much ton of refrigeration is required, 5 tons of refrigeration is required. Okay, so in that case, that means this Q2 value is only given. Now if 5 tons of refrigeration is required, you cannot use 5 ton in your numericals. Okay, you cannot use 5 tons directly, so you will have to convert into kilo, you will have to convert it into kilowatt. For solving numerical, you will have to convert it into kilowatt. Yes, tons of refrigeration is heat removal rate only, yeah, refrigeration rate only. But you should be very careful with the units. The term represents same thing, that Q2 only. All these things represents Q2 only, but you should be very careful with the unit, because ton of refrigeration, it is having some other unit. uh, Refrigeration rate is having some other unit. Heat removal rate is having some other unit. Okay, this refrigeration effect is having kilojoule per kg. Heat removal is having kilojoule per second, and tons, so obviously it is having tons of refrigeration. Okay, so if in numerical, let's say it is given 5 tons of refrigeration, so what you can do is you can directly multiply this one with 3.5, and what you will get? Approximately 3.5, you will get as 3.5 multiplied by 5, you'll get that much kilowatt of heat to be extracted. Okay, or you can use, for more accuracy, you can use this value 14,000 kilojoule per hour also, and then you divide by 3600. No, no, it is not like how fast you are bringing. Tons of refrigeration means how much you can, it's like how much heat you will have to extract from that particular surrounding. Now the heat removal rate in condenser, this I have already explained. Yes, if you say time wise rate, if it is more, it will refrigerate faster. That is okay. If you are telling in respect of that, means rate wise, then it is okay. But TOR only you cannot say that. Definition for TOR, you cannot say how fast you can cool. If rate is faster, if you are extracting more and more heat per unit time, that means you are cooling it faster. Now, rate of heat removal in condenser. So this is the formula. You know now. No, not much explanation required here. Now, in condenser, is if condenser is water cooled. Let's say, like we have this, this evaporator. Okay, this evaporator. Then we have this compressor. Okay. Then we have this uh, condenser. No, we have this condenser. So here we are rejecting heat. It may happen that this heat is being taken by some other fluid, or let's say water. It is water cooled. Let's say this condenser is water cooled. You are not rejecting this heat to surrounding. Instead of that, you are rejecting this heat to water. So they may give you the data for this one, the data for this water flow rate. Okay, so with that, the help of this water flow rate, now at a steady state, the amount of heat which is rejected by this condenser, it is going to what? Water. So in terms of this also, in terms of mass flow rate of water, mass flow rate of water and enthalpy change of water, also you can calculate this part Q1. So Q1 you can calculate with the help of mass flow rate of refrigerant multiplied by H2 minus H3, or this is also equals to mass flow rate of water, the cooling water, then Cp of cooling water, and then temperature change of cooling water. Now here there was no temperature change for refrigerant. In our this vapor dome, the graph is something like this. Na? Graph is something like this. Okay, so here there is no phase change for refrigerant, but this heat is being rejected to what? This heat is being rejected to your, let's say, some tube in which water is flowing, and its inlet temperature is, let's say, Tc1, and outlet temperature is Tc2. The water can change its temperature, no? Even though the refrigerant temperature is not changing, the same heat Q1 is going to this one. So this equation also you can use for calculating Q1, the heat rejected in condenser. Now the last part, the rate of work input in compressor is mass flow rate of refrigerant multiplied by H2 minus H1. Clear? Now in actual vapor compression cycle, in actual cycle, what we do is we actually superheat this one. If you see, we are not ending here at saturated state. We are doing this little amount of superheat. So this is degree of superheat and this is degree of subcooling. Okay, so what we do, we actually take heat from here and supply here. Okay, we actually take some, because this is at higher temperature, obviously. So we take some heat from here and supply here. So because of this, what happens is that, see, if you would have started from here, see, this is pH diagram. Okay, pH, enthalpy is in your x-axis. So for isenthalpic process, constant enthalpy process, line will be vertical. So if you are ending somewhere here, and then if you are going for isenthalpic process, it will end somewhere here. But if you are cooling this one further, if you are cooling this one further, you will reach somewhere here. And after that, if you go for expansion in capillary tube, you will reach somewhere here. Okay, so from 4 to this one, what has increased? Can anyone tell what you are increasing here? Q2, the refrigeration effect. See, you could have started from 4 to 1, but now you are starting from this 4. You could have started from 4 dash to 1 dash, but now you are starting from 4. So this much extra heat you can extract from your evaporator. So the refrigerant, the refrigeration effect you are increasing. Okay, so it is beneficial. Now one more way it is beneficial. You are giving this heat at this stage only. Okay, the refrigerant which is coming out at state point 1 dash, you are supplying this heat at this place, this state. Now because of that, what is happening? Some superheat is being done. Now if some superheat is being done, the temperature at inlet of the compressor will increase, and because of that you can save some compressor work also. Okay, you can save some compressor work also. Like this could be your initial one. Now after superheat you are going like this, so now you can save your some compressor work also. No, this heat of superheat, we usually take heat from here. Now why we do this one? Why we do this one? So in order to ascertain that there is no droplet of liquid refrigerant being carried over in compressor, there should be no liquid droplet, that we want to make sure. So for that we do some superheating. Why this droplet is not required, I have already explained. So some superheat we have to do. So some superheating of vapor is recommended after evaporator. And a small degree of subcooling of liquid, subcooling is this part, subcooling of liquid after condenser is also used to reduce the mass of vapor formed during expansion. Okay, because see, if you expand here, the vapor will be more here. If you expand here, the vapor will be less here. So mass of vapor formed during expansion, so that too many vapor bubble do not impede the flow of liquid refrigerant through the expansion wall. Okay, like here you have liquid. Now after that, when you reach here, it is you are converting into some part is converting to vapor. Now if it is converting into vapor, some bubble will form. If more bubble is forming, then what it does is it will block your flow. So to avoid that also, this thing helps. Now, and the other effect what you are getting is the refrigeration effect also you are increasing, so it is beneficial. So both the superheating of vapor at evaporator outlet here and subcooling of liquid at condenser outlet contribute to a increase in the refrigeration effect. As shown in figure, the compressor discharge temperature however increases due to superheat. See, the compressor discharge, however, the compressor discharge temperature however increases due to superheat from T2 dash to T2 dash, and the load on the condenser also increase. Now, in this case, if you see, the exit temperature is also increasing from T2 dash to T2. So in that way, if you see your this thing, in that way, if you see your load on the compressor also increases. Okay. Yes, superheating here, superheating we are doing just to be very sure that droplet should not be there. Now coming to Abhishek's question, that here are we is this a refrigeration effect or the heat exchange. So this can be either of one. Okay, so you should be very careful while solving numerical. If they are telling that this state is being reached with the refrigeration effect only, then you should consider refrigeration right from this place till this one. But if they are using some heat exchanger to exchange heat from here to here, okay, then you should use that heat exchange process. Okay, so you should be very careful in this one. Clear na this one? Now other things, you know what is condenser. Now in condenser it must de-superheat and then condense the compressed refrigerant. Condenser may be either air cooled or water cooled. Air cooled condenser is used in small self-contained units, and water cooled condenser are used in larger installations. Then last one is expansion device. It reduces the pressure of refrigerant and also regulates the flow of refrigerant to the evaporator. Okay, because it means according means how much is required, how much flow rate is required. Like if very small amount, every time you are not putting same amount of objects inside your refrigerator, no, it varies. That it may vary. So every time the flow rate requirement may be different, so that you can regulate through this valves. Okay, this device, expansion device. So you can also regulate the flow of refrigerant to the evaporator. Two widely used type of expansion device are capillary tube and throttle valve with thermostatic expansion valves. Okay, capillary tubes are used for small units. Once the size and length are fixed, the evaporator pressure etc. get fixed, because once you are fixing this one, you are fixing the entry point for evaporator. Okay, and no modification in operating condition is possible. Throttle valves are used for larger units. These regulates the flow of refrigerant according to the load of the evaporator. Now next is compressor. So compressor may be of three types: reciprocating, rotary, centrifugal. Okay, now when the volume flow rate of refrigerant is large, centrifugal compressor are used. If volume flow rate required is large, then centrifugal compressor are used. Rotary compressor are used for small unit. Reciprocating compressors are used for in plants up to 100 tons capacity. Now for plants in high capacity, centrifugal compressor are employed. Now in reciprocating compressor, reciprocating compressor, which may be single cylinder or multi cylinder. Okay, it can be a single cylinder or multi cylinder one. Because of clearance, leakage past the piston and valve and throttling effect at the suction and discharge valve, the actual volume of gas drawn into the cylinder is less than the volume displaced by the piston. So like we in reciprocating compressor, let's say this is your reciprocating part. Abhishek, you had this doubt now for this one, and one more is there, like this uh, for power extraction, like 4 cycle we have we have power extraction in one stroke only. So though that's that thing I will add with this in next class. I will add that part. Okay, but first part we should understand the volumetric efficiency associated with reciprocating one, and the efficiency, the volumetric efficiency. And then with this I will just add that means that for gas cycles, if we use this reciprocating one engines, then what will be the brake power, how to calculate that one. So I will add that part. Okay, so first we should understand this volumetric efficiency for this particular reciprocating compressor. So this reciprocating compressor, this one this reciprocating compressor, in this case, the this one the fluid which is entering here, the refrigerant what is entering here, so there can be a leakage. Okay, there can be a leakage of this one through this piston or through the valves. There can be a leakage of this refrigerant, and because of that, the amount of fluid what is entering here, the amount of refrigerant entering here is actually lesser than the displacement. See, we have learned the displacement volume. What is the displacement volume? Let's say this is your clearance volume, VC. Then what is displacement volume? It starts from here, top dead center, and ends somewhere here, the bottom dead center. So this is your displacement volume or suction volume. So this suction volume is pi by 4 diameter square multiplied by length. That is the actual volume. And fluid, that much fluid also it should suck inside, but actually because of leakages, the amount of fluid which is coming inside is less. Okay, less than this Vs value, less than this Vs value. Okay, so in that case, in that particular case, there will be a efficiency defined which is known as volumetric efficiency. Okay, which is known as volumetric efficiency. This volumetric efficiency is defined as the actual volume of gas drawn at liquid, or means not liquid here, so it will become vapor only, like after evaporation at this stage. No, if this is wet stage, then some liquid also will go, but if it is dry saturated or some superheat, then it will be completely a vapor or gas. So the at this stage, the actual amount of gas drawn at evaporator pressure and temperature to the piston displacement. To the piston displacement means what? This Vs, stroke volume. Now the actual amount of gas drawn is that how you can calculate that? You can calculate that you can calculate with the help of volumetric efficiency. Okay, the actual amount. So this is your actual amount. So how to calculate this one? Volumetric efficiency multiplied by piston displacement or swept volume. Okay, now what is this Vs or displacement volume? This is nothing but pi by 4 diameter square multiplied by length. Okay, pi by 4 diameter square multiplied by length. Now multiplied by n. Now why this n? Why this n? Because it will reciprocate, and here it will rotate, means reciprocate, one rotatory thing will, this will reciprocate, and here the crank will rotate. So it will have some rpm, the crank will have some rpm. So let's say it is having n rpm, let's say it is having n rpm. Okay, so for n rpm you can calculate, because pi by 4 diameter square multiplied by length, this will give you what? Meter cube. This will give you volume, meter cube. But you want what? Volume rate. You want meter cube per second. So for that, you will, how to calculate that part? You multiply with the number of revolution. Okay, per second, per minute, sorry. Actually you have to multiply with per second, then only you will get meter cube per second. So per second, what is the revolution? Okay, so that much volume it will take per second. See, meter cube is the amount of volume it is taking. Now you want to calculate what is the amount of gas it is taking per second. So for calculating per second, you should know what is the revolution per second. So the revolution per second will tell you the amount of volume taken inside per second. Sorry. That's why this n value we should multiply this is the volume which is meter cube, multiply by the n which is the rpm, but it will, if you multiply with only n, it will give meter cube per minute, but you need meter cube per second, so you divide with 60 so that you will get meter cube per second. So this will give you meter cube per second. Now this is small n. What is this small n? If it represents the number of cylinder in your compressor. If one cylinder value is 1, two cylinder value is 2. So this is the actual value of the volume per second of this displaced volume per second of this cylinder. This is the theoretical value what you calculate from the formula, but actually you will not get this much, you'll get lesser than this one. So how you will get? You should multiply with the volumetric efficiency, then you will get the actual volume, the actual volume of gas handled by the compressor. Now for this one you should know volumetric efficiency. Now what is this volumetric efficiency? Volumetric efficiency is this one, 1 plus c minus c multiplied by p2 by p1 to power 1 by n. Now where c is the clearance ratio. Okay, now this p2 by p1. So if you remember this part, this is superheat and this one. So this is at some other pressure, no? This one was p1 and this one was p2. And here what we do is isentropic compression we do, no? Actually we do isentropic compression, but it can be other polytropic process also. So the polytropic index, the compression index is, let's say, n, and compression is from p2 to p1. Okay, from p2 to p1. So pressure ratio is p1 by p2. So here what we are doing is 1 by pressure ratio, p2 by p1 to power 1 by n, the compression index. With that you will get, the volumetric efficiency. Okay. Guys, can we end the class here because my throat is paining.